good day, everybody. Once again, a beautiful Saturday. And we are here to review in the past week what we have learned about from the Lotus Sutra. And today, the content, I hope, will be able to provide some insight onto what Master had taught us in the past week. So let's move on to the next slide. So previously, last week, we talked about the four wisdoms and how to turn this consciousness, whether it's 1 through 5, or 6, or 7, or the 8th, or the 9th. Well, the 9th is already the consciousness of the Buddha and the innate suchness, the true suchness. But how do we turn all these seemingly receiving receptors, conscious, into something that we can actively use as wisdom? And that's what we talked about. And we talked about the consciousness, the idea of consciousness in the Buddhist text. And also we talked about how important it is to imprint the Dharma in our mind. Today, I hope today our topic will be a little bit a bit more applicable to all of you. So that's what happened last week, and let's talk about this week's summary. So let's hope that it's going to be something that's more applicable. And I title it to be Me in Dharma, Dharma in Me, and also how to work the Dharma. And these are the two things that I found to be very, very much in tune with what Master had been saying for the past week. In fact, it's not just the past week, it's for the whole time, but this week more so. And I'm going to go into what I meant by me in Dharma and Dharma in me. Okay, so this is something that I would like for all of us to really take part in understanding what this is. So me in the Dharma, what does that mean? It means that knowing that all the world around us, all the things, where the things are born, or where the things are formed, or the things that cease to exist, all the principles in the universe, all of that, we, each individual, are part of this Dharma. So just like what we have always heard before, that we're just like a leaf, a fallen leaf in the river, that the river of Dharma is going to take us to where the river, the current is going to take us. And that is what it means to be, we as individuals are all part of this river of Dharma, and we are being acted upon by the Dharma all around us. We cannot control how long our lives are. We cannot control that things are going to be formed and things are going to cease to exist. We cannot control that. And that's the me in the Dharma, to realize that there is a bigger river and we are part of this river. And where the river goes, we have no control. And that's what me in the Dharma means. So all the principles around us, or all the macrocosm. And what is the macrocosm? For example, the temperature gets hotter, or the sun rises, the sun sets, or the moon, or the solar eclipse, or all these principles, the breaking down of the decaying of biological manners, or the birth of life, the beginning of all these things, all these principles around us, that's really the me in the Dharma. We are in this Dharma, and therefore we follow all the principles. We are the same too. We're going to go through impermanence. We're going to be formed, and then we're going to cease to exist one day, our body, right? So that's the me in the Dharma. But what does the Dharma in me mean? It means, what do I do? So yes, I am this leaf. I am this leaf in this stream, in this river. But what can I do as a fallen leaf? Or, as what we said, that the sun will come up, the sun will go down. Sunrise and sunset. That's the macrocosm. That's the universal truth, the principle. But what can we do given the sunrise and the sunset? That's controlled by us. So while we are living in the world of Dharma, while we are living with all the principles, what we can still do something about our lives. So there's a Jing aphorism that says, We don't know how long. We cannot determine the length of our life, but we can determine how deep, how wide our life, the influence of our life is. And that's what it means by me in Dharma and Dharma in me. That's actually different. And that brought me to law of causality. And this is something that, interestingly, Master talked about. And I really wanted to combine this today from today's morning Dharma talk as well. Master talks about the causality, about how things are formed, how things cease to exist, how emptiness and existence, how it's always happening, right? There's a law that's already in place. So it brought me to this point about what does that mean to be me in the Dharma and Dharma in me? So brief review. This is something that I share with many people. I think last year in 2016, I think the very first few sharings that I ever done with this group was about the cause, the condition, and the effect and the consequences. So for me, my understanding is the cause is the set in the past, something that's immutable, a seed that was already planted, the seed that will be that's an apple seed, right? The seed that will give rise to an apple tree. That's something that's already planted in the past. Something that today I cannot go back and say, oh, I don't want this apple tree. I want a pineapple tree. You got it wrong. It's a pineapple tree. Well, I'm not even sure if pineapple is a tree, but it's I don't want apples. I want pineapple, okay? But you can't just go back and say, oh, let me dig out the seed that has already grown into a tree. You can't dig that up and change that. So cause, or the seed itself, as of today, the seed is already something that was done in the past. Today, you cannot change what the seed that you have already planted. So that's the cause. The condition is our effort to make the result go one way or the other. So what this means is that, for example, no matter what the seed that you planted, whether it's an apple or a pineapple, our condition is our effort. For example, I can water it every day, or I can leave it to decay. I can put around a fence, I can put a fence around it, or I can let it rot, or I can let all the wild animals come and pick it apart. I could give it some fertilizer, or I can just leave it to dry, to have no nutrients in the soil. Those are the things that I can do. I cannot change what was planted, but I can change the conditions around what was planted. So even though I cannot change an apple to a pineapple, but I can add on to it, for example, add more water, or I can add other things onto it so that I can make the tree, or I can make the fruit grow to be as big, as healthy, as bountiful as possible. So that's the cause, the seed, and the condition. Now, the effect. Well, the effect is something that also you cannot be changed. You're going to get an apple because you put in the seed of an apple. However, the only thing that is somewhat changeable is that if you put in a lot of care for this fruit, then yes, you're going to get an apple. You cannot change it to a pineapple anymore, but you will get an apple, but this apple will be much bigger, and it will be much more ripe. It will be much sweeter, etc. Because you put the care, you put the water, you put the necessary nutrients, the conditions were more ripe. So the effect is the combination, determined by the combination of the cause and the condition. The cause, it cannot be changed. The effect is directly related to the cause. However, the condition will improve on the effect. Now, the consequence is how this result is perceived. So for example, the apple that comes out, suppose it's a very small one and it's very sour. You eat it. Now, how do you perceive this sour apple? Do you feel the sense of gratitude that you have done everything you can to care for this plant to grow, yet it still comes out to be sour? Taking that bite, all the feeling you have is gratitude to the earth, gratitude to the world that we are able to have this apple, eating it, even though it's sour, but in a very hot summer day, a sour apple will actually quench your thirst somehow. And however, on the other hand, same apple, you take a bite. But if you perceive this effect, perceive this sour apple to be something that's very negative, like I put in all the effort, I put in all the water, I was doing everything that all my forefathers have taught me about how to grow apples, yet it's still bad. I don't believe this. I don't want to do this anymore. I quit. Well, that's the consequence, how we perceive this effect. So this is also something that we can control. We can perceive this, the same apple that's sour. We can see it with gratitude, or we can see it with a sense of this ungrateful feeling. It depends on how we want to play it. So, in another word, the law of causality, in what we just talked about, macrocosm and microcosm, the world turns. That's something that we cannot change. Just like the cause, the seed that we already planted, we cannot change. The world is turning, and that's something that we cannot change. The law of Chen Zhu Huai Kong, or the formation all the way to ceasing to exist or decay, that's going to be in progress that we cannot change. However, what we can change is between the formation and the decay, that what we can do in the middle, and that's turning the wheel of the Dharma wheel. So the world is turning, it's out of our control, but we can turn the Dharma. That's something that we can control. Just like the cause, effect, and the cause, the condition, the effect, and the consequences. We can control the conditions with which the cause were planted. We can make it better. Somebody already didn't like me. I cannot tell them, stop not liking me. Like me right now. I can't do that. Something that was said already in the past. Somebody didn't like me because I said something in the past that really upset them. I cannot undo what was already done. But I can make the condition better by being nicer, by being more considerate, by being friendlier to this person. However, the result or the effect is going to be the seed that was planted is either going to be good or bad. So suppose the person becomes nicer to us too, then great. The consequence would be I receive it willingly, gratefully. Thank you for, I'm nice to you, and thank you for not looking into the past and not accepting me as your friend. However, if the effect is still not good, still yells at me, still not happy with me, then how do I take this consequence? Do I say, well, I hate you too? Or do I say, well, I understand because I have done you wrong and it will take time for this wound to heal. That's all about what we can do and what we cannot do, what we can change and what we cannot change. So this is what I felt. What was talked about today was that the Dharma, there are something that was great things that's already in motion. The world is turning. It's not like right now, if we all think very hard together and said, stop turning, the world will stop turning. It will not happen. It's something that's already in motion. We can put on all the makeup in the world, but it will not stop us from aging. Next year, this time, I will be 1 year older. That's not going to change. But we can change what we can do within this year. That's turning of the Dharma wheel. So that's what the difference is. Same thing. Last week, we talked about how to turn this consciousness into wisdom. Same idea. All the consciousness, as well as the sensory organs, are something that allow us to know of this world. We get to know what this world is about. We get to know what this world is by our consciousness and the sensory organs. However, it's no longer just enough to understand the world, but how do we apply our understanding to affect the world in the way that, yes, my life, our average lifespan is about 75 or 80 years old. It's not just about knowing that, but after knowing that, what do you do about it? And that's the wisdom part. So the macrocosm and the microcosm, knowing that we are part of the much bigger Dharma, and knowing that what we can do within this macrocosm is that we can effectively do something about it. So, another word, very recently, the cause is what the Sutra says. Something that the Sutra records what the Buddha says. We cannot change what the Buddha said, no matter how we want to change it to fit what today's world is. The Sutra talks about supernatural powers. We can't change that and say, oh, instead of saying 6 supernatural powers, we're going to say internet, telephone. We can't change that, okay? So the cause is already set in the past. This is what the Buddha said. We can't change that. However, we can internalize what the Buddha said, what the Sutra says, into something that we can understand, into something that other people can understand. Now, the effect is the world happens according to what the Buddha says. The Dharma talks about the formation and all the way to decay and termination. It's not going to change. The world is going to happen according to what the principle is going to be. The consequences, how we act according to how we perceive this Dharma. Now that we know that the world is going through formation and decay, and so is our body, what are we going to do about it? So all these things are actually very much combined together, which makes up coming to the next point is how do we work the Dharma? Knowing that the macrocosm and the microcosm, how do we make the Dharma work? And how do we work the Dharma? First of all, as I mentioned, internalize the Dharma. The Dharma and the Sutra has many, many stories. But how do we make it matter? How do we work the Dharma? Is by making this story matter to us. Associate with it so that it will actually not just be somebody telling you a story. For example, the story of Cinderella. Sounds great, but who in this life is going to be a happy prince and marrying the princess and have, living happily ever after? This doesn't happen in today's world. Don't let the Dharma, don't let the Sutra be simply just a fairy tale. Make it something that's applicable to our lives. For example, in this particular verse, that's just, I think we covered this about 2 days ago or yesterday. Each one of these bodhisattvas, and this is talking about the bodhisattvas that have emerged from the earth. Each one of these bodhisattvas, each bring with them followers, numbers like immeasurable sands of Ganges River. Okay, so you can imagine, first of all, it's already very difficult to imagine what bodhisattvas emerging from the ground. I think before their heads really comes out of the ground, I think you'll be running for your lives already. You'll be thinking these are zombies, right? They're coming out for our lives. So it's something that you have to internalize. What does it really mean? What does it really mean to each bring with them followers, numbers like immeasurable sands? It's already crazy to think of one bodhisattva emerging from the ground. Imagine numbers like immeasurable sands of Ganges all around you. Heads start to pop out of the ground and then begin to say, no, imagine that. How it doesn't work, right? So how do you apply this to our world so that it's not just a story from the sutra that will never associate with our lives or only in the movies, right? So I was thinking, what does that mean? And then I thought about this. This is a picture of cells. How many number of cells are there in each person? And the number actually varies, right? Somewhere between 15 trillion to 70 trillion, depending on how tall, how fat, how old, how young you are. The average person is about 37 trillion cells in your body, right? So in my mind, that moment, what does it mean to have all these followers? That in my mind, that moment that says there are different bodhisattvas that just show up. No, they didn't emerge from the ground. They just come up from behind you. You didn't realize that they were coming in. They were so soft. They're coming in very soft. They didn't announce they're coming. They didn't say, Joe is here. Yoping is here. They didn't do that. Hundreds of these followers, they just come in quietly, sit down. Just like if you come to the Jing Hall early, you sat in the front. Now, as the sharing began, as the class begins, more and more people quietly file in and sit in the back. You didn't know where they come from. You didn't know when they came back. They came and joined us. But all of a sudden, one time, you turn around and you say, wow, Where do all these people come from? Did they come from did they just drop from the sky, or did they come from the ground? That's exactly what it means. All these people, without making a noise, without making a fuss, they showed up quietly, calmly, sit behind you, all around you. You didn't realize that they were here, but they all just show up. Now, who are these people? Some are old, some are young. Some of smaller stature, so then they only have 15 trillion cells. Some have a lot more cells, right? That has 70 trillion cells because they weigh 100 pounds, 200 pounds, or 100 kilos. They weigh very heavy. Or have you ever heard of the expression that Master once said that every cell in your body is a Tzu Chi DNA on it? Yes. Some people that show up, everything about them is about Tzu Chi. They came with 70 trillion cells, all representing Tzu Chi. And there are some, while they do Tzu Chi, but then in their mind, they're still thinking, what do I cook later? I'm going to eat later, lunch. I'm going to meet up with my friend. I haven't met with my friend. So yes, while you have 70 trillion cells in your body, half of it is not Tzu Chi because you're thinking about what you're going to eat. Something about your thoughts. So all these things, people coming from different backgrounds, people coming from different sizes, different backgrounds, different ideas, and they all are here quietly emerging from all the places, and they're all coming to sit down. And that's what it means. So internalize it, visualize it, and feel it, that this is not 2,500 years ago. This is not tens and thousands of years ago. It's right now, right here. Okay, so in today's Sutra verse, it talks about from times past. This is Maitreya, Bodhisattva Maitreya talking about, I have seen nothing like this. From lands I have been to, I haven't seen anyone here that I know. Why is it the case? From all the times in the past, I have not seen. I have followed, all these are disciples following the Buddha. They have not seen all these who the Buddha said were all his followers and disciples. Why is it that I have followed you since you began, but I have not seen anyone? They never take a class at all. Who are these people? And if you internalize that, this is exactly what we know. And last week, Master talks about Dr. Li. This is the person who had already been in Tzu Chi for such a long time. Yet, when Master started talking about this Dr. Li, who has I think some form of cancer, terminal cancer in the lungs, that had already spread to the brain. Okay, the cancer is in the lung that eventually spread to the brain. He was actually numbered in the first thousands. Yet, when Master talked about him, I had no clue who this person was. And this is exactly the same way in that all these bodhisattvas, they have already been doing all this work before us. Yet we think we know all there is to know about Tzu Chi. Yet there's so much we don't know. And it's not just about in the past 50 years. It's about all the time in the past that there's special affinity that Master had with all her disciples. We would not know. Same thing. So how do we put that together and associate the sutra with all the world around us? That's the first thing. Internalize it. Make sense of it. Make the story not just into a fable, but something that we really feel. Now, apply what we learn. Put it together and apply what we learn. Last week, we talked about the four wisdom. The wisdom of accomplishment, profound insight, innate identity, and great perfect mirror. How do we apply this? This is a great way to think about things, but how do we apply that? So last week, we also talked about some of these great bodhisattvas. This is a part of the sutra. Brought followers close number of sands in 60,000 ganges. So all these all share a single thought, which is to seek the Buddha Dharma. So what does that mean? It means that all these followers that emerges from the ground, or they just showed up without you knowing, okay? Showed up without you knowing. They did all their 3 bows without somebody saying, first bow, second bow. So you didn't know that they were here, and they just all showed up, right? And all of those, even though they all have different number of followers, different number of cells, different number of conviction to Tzu Chi, but they all share the same single thought, which is to seek the Buddha Dharma. Okay, so how do you apply the four wisdom? First, let's go back to the four wisdom. Accomplishment. Know what they have done. Know what is happening around you. Something that's already accomplished. These people are all here. Who they are. Know who they are. Second, profound insight. What are the differences? What have they done and the differences between us? And innate identity. What are the similarities? Know what they have done. Know the differences between us. And know the same thing, the similarity between us. And if you can put all of that together, then you would have great, perfect mirror wisdom. For example, let's look at Dr. Li. Know what he had done. We don't know. That's why Bodhisattva Maitreya asked the question to the Buddha. Who are these people? Who is their teacher? What have they done? Where did they come from? Where are they going? Ask of what was happening. Know what was already done. Know what was already in front of us. And then profound insight will allow us to see, well, why is it there's such a difference between us? What was he doing that was different from us? What was he doing that is that I did not know? Profound insight allows us to see the differences between among all the people. The innate identity allows us to see that we are all the same. So even though we all have different number of followers, but the innate identity or the same that is, or the thing that is the same with all of us is this, all of which all of us share the same thought, which is to come and seek the Buddha Dharma. So know that we are all different. We all have different faculties and different number of followers, but we're all here to seek the Dharma. If you can link all of this up into our life, then you would have the great, perfect mirror wisdom. I have a lot more stories here to share about Turkey. Which case it's already 7:36. Let me give you 5 minutes. No, I say 5 minutes, usually 10. But to tell you, to share with you what I see, and this is something that I thought that we can really put together. So this is what happened last week or 2 weeks ago when our team from Taiwan actually went to Turkey, and this is a picture of our representative shaking hand with the construction company or the construction the company that will be in charge of building or constructing or helping us do the construction work for our school that we will be building. Okay, that will be building. So the actual person that was shaking the hand is actually one of the two brothers that represent the construction company. Now, the story here is that because this contract itself was really, really complex, and the mayor, who is the person in the middle, okay, you see where the hand is shaking, the person in the middle that is wearing the suit. This mayor is also was a lawyer, okay, by law. He's actually, his particular trade is law. So he knows, he goes into the contract and be very specific about each clause to protect the privilege and the rights of Tzu Chi Foundation. So this contract was being modified even until the very, very early mornings on the day that it was being signed. Now, the caveat is this, is that this contract was written in both Turkish and English. Reason being that the person, the brothers, the contractors that are going to do the construction, they do not understand English. And therefore, in order to be fair, the contract was written in both Turkish and English. We understand English, they understand Turkish. We sign both forms to show that it's both has the legal binding authority. But it was changed so much that they didn't have enough time to put all the changes into Turkish. So how was it signed then? That's what happened. Because at the signing ceremony, the two brothers that you see here, pick up the pen and say, well, where is the Turkish version? There was none. So how would the person sign? The person pick up the pen and say, well, I don't even know where to sign. I don't understand a word in English. How do I sign? Yet, how do we get this picture? The handshaking is because eventually he still signed, because he said, I recognize you, the representative from Tzu Chi Foundation, and I know what you have done. And therefore, I'm signing on this document, which I do not understand a word. Yet it's all in my heart. It's all in my heart that I believe you and I have faith in you. That's why I'm signing this. So when you see this story, you can understand the faith of belief, knowing that these are the people from Tzu Chi, and then that's why he trusts us. And I saw this story and I found, don't we see this every day? Yes, we do. Look at all of you that needed the translation, the English caption every time. All of you that do not understand the Chinese or the Mandarin or the writings or the Taiwanese, you still come because you know what Master's preaching is right. Just like this contractor, pick up the pen and he signs it. So seeing the similarities, seeing the differences of language and the difficulties and the challenges that he faced, we all have different challenges. But then from there, we can see the similarities. That's drawing the Dharma from here. And then we can bind it together. So then we can see, yes, I understand why he was signed. Because I also understand why all those of you that need the translation, you didn't come here because of blind faith. He didn't sign the contract because of blind faith, because it's true faith. The faith is not based on words. It's not based on what you see, the deeds, but it's based in the heart. So that's the importance. Now, there are more stories behind here, but I have no time to get through. So I want to come back to here again. How we apply the wisdom is the most important thing. How we apply this is the most important, because if we don't apply it, if we cannot internalize it into our language, then the Dharma, it will just be some fable story, some fairy tale that we talk to our children, to our friends, to our Dharma brothers and sisters in passing. Yeah, it's a very nice story, but so what? The most important is how we can use it. So, for example, this is something that we use in our meeting. Okay, I'm sharing this with you. In our meeting, actually in my work, what we do is we have to put together a report of all the different branches in Taiwan and what have they done. So the first thing we do is we pick out all the accomplishments. For example, Taipei, what have they done in the past half year, 6 months? They have done this. These are their major accomplishments. Know what each of them have done. Then look into it and see how each branches are different. Taipei is going to be different from Kaohsiung. Same thing. Malacca is going to be different from Penang, right? Everyone is going to be different. Kuala Lumpur is going to be different from Singapore. Everyone's going to be different. List out the accomplishments, know their differences, but also know their similarities. What are their similarities? Yes, they are all different religion, all different, some tensions between race, ethnicity, etc. If you can put all of them together, have a very good picture of who these people are, what they have done, the difficulties they face, all the different challenges they face, and how the strength, where they draw the strength from to overcome that. If you understand these people, that's when you have the great perfect mirror. So if we go through these step by step, what they have done, the differences, the similarities, how do you put all of them together? That's how we can apply the four wisdoms in everything we do. So my final message is, don't just read the stories just like they're stories. They're actually something very much attached to our lives. Make the Dharma matter in our lives. Don't let it just be me in the Dharma, but put the Dharma in me, and saying that what we do matters. We can convert the Dharma that we are in, the macrocosm, and convert that into something that we can apply and use for ourselves. And that's my sharing for today. Thank you. A little bit over, it's a lot more over. So let's open the microphone up to all the centers, and to see if we have anybody sharing for today. Thank you.
Okay, there are quite a number of us here today, this morning. Greetings from Kepong. Come, everyone. Yeah, our third Saturday gathering. Okay, today we have with us Sister Tammy from Kuching. She'll be doing the sharing today. We have started our weekly Saturday talk since 12th of December 2015. That time it was only one center in Singapore connecting with Hualian team. Later, the next year in mid 2016, we started to branch out. So there will be more centers, but only those centers which are ready can start to form their own, can have their own point. At that point of time, Sister Tammy was only a GNC, she was only a trainee. Yet she dared to start this center at the place. We were also wondering, so can Sister share what makes Sister dare to set up a center?
So basically, there are a few reasons. First thing first is because I'm still graduate volunteer and I have benefited a lot from the English Dharma talk. And during the very beginning, Brother Huang and Huang team set up the English Dharma talk. I got quite a few questions of doubt in my mind about the Buddhahood sort of, because I was so after I attended, I have benefited a lot. So I wish to get more people, especially in the Puchong area, can be public or the volunteer to join us to benefit more people. And another reason, of course, is nearer to us, because when we travel from Puchong to Kapong to and fro, actually took around 1.5 or 2 hours. So if we can conduct it in Puchong, it would be better.
Okay, great. Because this is a weekly issue, weekly field of blessing. So Sister has to do it every Saturday. What makes Sister so diligent, and how and we noticed that in Puchong the attendance rate has been good all the while. So we also wish to listen to Sister recipe. How Sister managed to inspire so many to join.
So very beginning, I just tell anyone who I meet in Zhengzhitang or in Puchong when we conduct the city activity, my worker, I just tell them, okay, there's this English Dharma talk. It's very inspiring. The speaker from Taiwan, Huang team. So I just casually tell them, then invite them. Maybe then at the same time, some of them they are keen, then they will come. Of course, still some they couldn't make it though. So it also depends on me. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, now Sister, after that, Sister can't understand Minanyi and she also cannot understand Chinese. Yet, in early this year, in March, when we started the live caption team, Sister Tammy, she joined us. Live captions means every day when Master speaks Xin Fa Xiang wisdom at dawn, there will be a group of people preparing the English caption. So Sister, imagine she couldn't understand Minanyi, and that point of time she has yet to really because to do this, the person has to wake up very early and listen to Master Xin Fa Xiang. So what makes Sister join the team despite not understanding Minanyi and cannot understand Chinese?
Okay. So the main reason is because beginning of this year, my little girl, she already moved from kindergarten to standard 1. So the Chinese school standard 1 got quite a lot of homework. So as a parent, my husband and myself, we will take them to accompany her to work. So at that point of time, I really sleep quite late at night, and then it's very tough for me to wake up at 4:30. So at that point of time, I'm still thinking, if I hold a responsibility to join this live caption, although I'm not very good in doing main translation, I can just help a little on spelling check, and then to do the editing, just a small role. So I decided to take Sister switching to pick up this role. Yeah, because I believe when I hold a responsibility, I will make myself to wake up early in the morning.
Yeah, okay. Finally, the last question. What changes has Sister made since listening to Master Mr. McDonald, be in family? Oh, Sister is working as well. She's a full-time working mother. Her daughter is in primary school and also in CC activity. What are the changes?
In fact, last year I don't see any changes there, but for this year I really can gradually see my changes, which is, for example, a few months back could be in April. I remember that night after the meeting in this Zhengzhitang home, and then the office they already do give us the direction to walk among the people. Means we have to go out to the apartment or public shops, all this we have to tell public that about city mission. So at that point of time, I also have the similar plan of this, but I'm thinking is for next year, not this year, because this year is only patient. Next year is the 79 volunteer. So since HQ already have this direction, I'm so excited, and I say, yeah, I can do it this year. So with the very motivation and inspiring feeling, right? So at the night I reach home around, when I reach home it's already 11 night. So the moment I open the door, enter to the bedroom, right? I saw my little girl is sleeping already. Then my husband in the darkness, he's working on his computer and still doing his work. But I already told him many times, in the darkness, and you turn on and you are working in the darkness with the computer, is very bad for your eyesight. So many times I already told him, but he still cannot apply it. And maybe due to his ignorance or what, then he ignored me. So at that point of time, in my feeling, in my heart, 1 second I was so happy, but when I reach home, I feel like I couldn't take it. And based on my previous hot temper with my family members, right, I used to slam the door. But at that point of time, I got 1 second, I feel like wanted to slam the door, but automatically another second, I'm quite happy that I can silently close the door. Then I go to take bath. So after took bath, I hope that my husband will listen to me, that he will go out to the living hall to continue his work, okay? But he didn't. I entered again, okay, he didn't, so as usual, I have to request him to, can you please go out, okay? Then at that point of time, he's a bit, maybe he's stressed or whatever, so he just says one sentence very unkind to me. He said, "Lei ho fan ah." So at that moment, my anger is really rise up. That moment I wanted to slam the door, but I hold it, and very automatically I can hold the kind of anger. Then he go out, he went out, then I silently close the door and dry my hand. So the next day, after a few days, actually I did my self-reflection. If that point of time, if I can be very gentle, very gentle and soft to him, ask him, can you please take care of your eye also off. So maybe he will listen to me, and that kind of situation will not occur. So I can see gradually I have changed from that automatically after applying master teaching. If that is in terms of family, and I also noticed that gradually I won't talk back to, whenever me and my mother-in-law, we will always have different view of doing things. So last time I was very fast, I was straight taking joy. I will talk back to her. But I realized this couple of months I can hold back, I can just acknowledge, and then I just try not to talk back to her, because I can feel, if as a mother, I have a daughter, if my daughter little girl think joy, I also feel unhappy, right? If as a daughter-in-law I go and think joy, my mother-in-law definitely not comfortable in her heart. So in terms of work, I can be more tolerant with my colleague who is not easy to deal with. Then in terms of work, because of the precept of how upholding no lying, right? I really feel that I cannot simply take MC or EL, and cannot simply create a story of taking MC or EL. So actually, 1 or 2 months back, I remember early in the morning, I was so tired. That point of time, the moment I wanted to, negative thought arises, I'm thinking, can I take EL or MC? So struggling, still haven't wake up. So at that point of time, because of the precept of no lying, so I managed to get up and go to work. Although it's a little bit late, then I will text my so family, work. And one more thing to add is dealing with Suji as a team, because we have to deal with different level of people. Okay. So sometimes we will have different opinion. So this year onwards, actually, I can apply master teaching, which is forgiving and also understanding. Because I remember during life class and master Master says that to be understanding and forgiving is also a wisdom. So the reason why I attend Life in Fast is also to show the profound gratitude to Master and also to increase my wisdom life. Last time I don't understand what is the meaning of wisdom life, but after the clarification with Huang, I understand the wisdom life is a very permanent, that we can carry life after life. So I wish to gain more wisdom life in this life.
Kind sister, tell me she is such a great Bodhisattva. We learn a lot from her because earlier stage when we just started, she always bring new volunteers to join us, and we always we have a lot of great joy hearing how she practiced activities at her center, recycling, recruitment of new Bodhisattva, and a lot of other great activities. So we are very thankful for all the great insights from Sister Tammy and Brother Joe. Back to Brother Joe.
Okay, thank you, Sister Tammy. That was wonderful sharing. A couple of things. So now we understand. Okay, so when anybody softly closes the door, we should appreciate how much struggle is within that we do not see. Right? Somebody that comes in slowly puts down the chair, slowly or softly takes out his or her things and do the things that he was supposed to do without you knowing. Little do we know how much internal struggle that might have happened, right? And that's the true, similar to what I talked about today, when all these people that emerge from the earth, you wouldn't know that there's anything that's in their heart because their wisdom is already so much that they come in, they didn't say, oh, it's so hot, turn on the fan. They didn't do that. They slowly file in behind all the people, sit there and begin to listen, right? So this is something that that I see. So even something so simple as closing the door, we would see much great wisdom in that. Okay, and lastly, about translation, to not be able to understand Chinese and Taiwanese and still be able to translate. Let me tell you, that is the top translation, because you're not translating words. You're not being bounded by what the words mean and what the words are, because you're translating Dharma. Dharma is not something to be confined by words only. We are still confined by the words. What was spoken, we understand, and therefore we translate. But what you're translating, sister, is you're translating Dharma. You're transmitting Dharma. So I think with two of that, and thank you for your wonderful story about how you have personally grown and how you have become better and your wisdom life has grown. And I think that's something made me really, really happy about that we're on this path together and we're growing together. I might not be growing as fast as you are, but seeing that we together collectively are maturing and growing in our wisdom life, know and show that there is hope for all of us, and we are indeed on the right path. So thank you. And very quickly, because we have questions from last week and from many weeks actually. So we're gonna try to get through them in a very, very short amount of time. Thanks to Brother Yopi.
Right, good morning, everyone. Happy to see everyone. Okay, so let me quickly go through the 3 questions. First one, may I seek advice that, well, upholding 5 10 precepts and 4 great vows, can we be 100% assured of a place in the human realm? I think after today's morning sermon by our master, we all want to stay in the human realm because that is the realm that we can really learn and attain Buddhahood. Not in heaven because it's too joyful, we wouldn't want to learn, and then not in hell because it's too suffering, we wouldn't have the chance to learn too. So we want to stay in the human realm, but how do we do that? But here, let me share with your how I internalize the 6 realms in my own thinking. I think human realm or all the other 6 realms is not just about our afterlives. If we cannot live our life currently, how do we work our afterlife? So I think the realms, it's really in this life, there's already the realm, and the realm is more like a mindset. A mindset. If our mind just cares about joys, just is in our joyful comfort zones, and then and doesn't really feel like we want to change, then we are really in the heaven realm, and that's the mindset that we are in. if we always follow our desires, I want to eat chocolate, and I just really want to eat, do all the things according to our desires, then we are almost like in the animal realm. And if we are stuck in our own, sufferings and worries and a lot of troubles, then we are just in hell. So that's really a mindset. And how do we be 100% sure that we're in a human realm? Just do the good things. All the sufferings, we are in this samsara that we already, the world is already a suffering one. But when we keep to our precepts, when we have the great vows to help people, when we have the vow to learn all the Dharma, to go towards Buddhahood, that's the kind of mindset. Even if in mud, we can grow into a lotus. Even in suffering, we can learn. That is the human realm. And so when we decide on that, when we decide that we want to walk this path, we are already in a human realm right now, not afterlife. We don't need to be too worried about next life. We are not sure about this life. So be sure, make these vows, keep to the precepts, do all the good things. And we are now in the human realm and learning towards Buddhahood. Okay, so that's question 1. And then quickly, question 2. If I were to leave the 5 skandhas, the 5 senses, the 6, the 7 consciousness behind, and go straight to the 8 consciousness, can I achieve tranquility? Well, we wouldn't really want to do that, because if we leave behind our 5 senses, the 6 and the 7, we are actually just kind of like hiding away from the world. It's like we just leave into the forest and then close our eyes, close our ears. We don't want to listen, and we don't touch anything, and then shut our minds down, doesn't want to think anything. That doesn't make us better. We just shut off ourselves from the whole world. Does that do anything? That doesn't really do anything, and it's just it's going to the realm of the urchin, the small vehicle, where we just cares for our own calm and peace. But that kind of calm and peace is not a very wholesome one, because it's empty. It's too empty. You're doing nothing. It's like in this role, it loses all meanings. So we wouldn't want to do that. In fact, the Buddha through the Lotus Sutra, he has been preaching and hoping that all the practitioners can go towards the great vehicle, and go into the Sahara to uphold the Lotus Sutra in the samsara, even if the Buddha is not around. So we want so that's why in this chapter we have learned, Master has been preaching to us the 4 wisdom, where we want to change our 5 senses, our 6 to 7, even the 8th. We want to transform it into wisdom. And very quickly, how could that mean? For example, the 5 senses, if we do not change, then the 5 senses, we usually use it to see the things we like and make a lot of distinctions about things. But if we can change that and to use our 5 senses to do good things, then that will be the wisdom of accomplishment. We make use of our 5 senses to do good things. In the same way, the 6, the 7, we always use it to think about, we have all worries and troubles, or we use it to plan, to seek the things that we like, and all these things. But if we can transform it into the wondrous the wondrous insight. Yep, that's the wisdom of the wondrous insight. And the 7th, that is the innate equality. That's our innate nature, the equality in all. When we can see everything equal, when we don't make distinctions, the things that we like, that we don't like, when we don't make these distinctions, then we will find tranquility in our mind. And all these seeds will plant into our 8th consciousness. And even if we can have our 8th consciousness very clear and calm, all the seeds we plant inside are all good seeds. And then slowly, we will have our 8th consciousness purified into a piece of land that's very broad and open. And that is the great mirror, wisdom. And from there, we reach tranquility. So it's not away from the world that we reach tranquility, but in this world, with our mind changed, transform into wisdom, then we reach tranquility. So that's for this one. And lastly, is it true to say that children can go to Allah consciousness easier than the adults? Well, here I think here the understanding just to clear up a bit that we do not go to Alaya consciousness. All the 9 consciousness is like a natural working of sentient beings. We all have the 6th consciousness, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th. We all already have it. So whether it's the children, whether it's the adults, we already have it. But maybe slightly different is that children maybe doesn't really think so much as adults. So very quickly, the seeds from the Alaya consciousness will become actions. But for adults, maybe we think a little more. So it does not go directly. So maybe slightly different, but then the working is the same. Children, they bring with them the seeds that we planted in the past, and then so children have their own different likings. But as we grow along, as we age, we plant many different seeds into our Alaya consciousness, and that will affect us. And all the seeds, some of it will appear in our mind along the way, and so different Alaya consciousness. So that's why throughout, whether you are children, whether adults, we want to plant good seeds in our Alaya consciousness. So okay, just to quickly clear the doubts. So that's for today. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for today. That's our sharing for today. Sorry, we are over by a little bit, but I hope that Yoping's answer were very, very clear. That was very, very compounded, so that we can all understand much better about all these different consciousnesses. And it's not about where we go, but it's about our mental state, our spiritual state of mind. So let's work together. Let's be back here again, and let's make sure that every day, learn the Dharma, hear the Dharma, translate the Dharma in the way it's truly translating it, not just word for word, but don't let it be bounded by words, but rather internalize it and how we can use it and put it in our lives. Just like what Sister Tammy shared with us, even just to softly closing the door, not slamming it, is already the display of ultimate wisdom. And it's something that's something we can all learn and be very happy, be grateful about. So thank you all, and we will see you next week again. And thank you all, and we're going to end today's sharing. Thank you. Bye-bye.